Hello everyone and welcome to Whisky Wednesday. Amazingly, again, we have never reviewed Dalmore 12YO. I know you can see the 12 and the 15, but we're just doing the 12 today. And there's been a lot of talk about colouring and non-filtration and barrier filtration and stuff on the internet, and I only just recently discovered the whole Dalmore range, had the opportunity to try all of them side by side, and kind of forgot how nuanced they can be, how enjoyable they can be, and how they actually are quite good whiskey. But just because it's got some colouring in it and it's chill filtered doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. If you live your life by those words, it's almost to a degree extremist, because there are some whiskies that are natural colour and aren't chill filtered, which aren't particularly good. I can think of a few myself. And then there are loads of whiskies which are coloured and are chill filtered that are very good, and people enjoy them and they're affordable and you can get them every day. This is no different really, it's just in a particularly fancy bottle, which I'm sure we'll have some beautiful close-up shots of. But all of you know Dalmore, it should be something quite familiar to all of you. The 12-year-old is a standard, 40% alcohol. It does contain E150, it is chill filtered, but for 9 years of its life it spends that in ex-American oak, classic white oak, Quercus alba, and then for the last 3 years of its life it's spent in Matusalem Oloroso, which I only discovered is an Oloroso Sherry, which only Dalmore use. They've got like the rights to it to a degree. So you'll see Oloroso and Amoroso and Pedro Jimenez and Fino, Amontillado and Manzanilla, all these amazing sherry types, but it's only Matusalem Oloroso, which is available through the Dalmore range. And I think it's in all of them, 12, 15, 18, the Dominion and a few others. But let's dive in, let's smell and taste. It's a beautiful Highland distillery up north of Inverness. But it divides opinion. But nonetheless, let's purely talk about smell and taste, and then we'll go into a bit more detail. Now, it's difficult to talk about different sherry types without having the sherry types next to each other. But amazingly, when you think about the cliche tasting notes and smelling notes of sherry, Christmas cake, raisin, sultana, it's not particularly present in Dalmore 12. If you want it, it would probably present itself to you because the power of persuasion within your mind when it comes to smelling things is amazing. But for me, it's like candied ginger. It's got these beautiful kind of chocolate orange notes in there, like candied orange, almost like a quincy tart kind of fruitiness to it. But even though it's a sherried whiskey and a sherried finish whiskey in some particularly active casks, there has been an American oak for most of its life. So there's some beautiful toffee, there's some nice vanilla notes in the background. And purely based on colour in that glass alone, if you told me that was a natural coloured 12-year-old single malt from the Highlands, I'd probably believe you. So it does contain colouring, but there is a legal limit as to how much you can use. I don't know what that limit is per litre, but nonetheless, it looks like natural colour, even though we know it isn't. So they're not going overboard with it. A little bit of fizzy spice kicking around there. Probably describe it as oaky, as some nice kind of like tannic structure to it. And then that little bit of mace, that little bit of cinnamon, but mostly big, lovely, thick chocolate orange, ginger, all kind of melding together in this nice, festive way. I'm just getting bored of saying the word Christmas, but festive kind of smell to it. Let's go on for the taste. It's a nice initial hit of ginger spice. It's almost like an instant warmth, kind of East Asian flavour. That mellows out into milk chocolate, that orange juice kind of making itself known again, orange juices, orange rinds, orange pith. And then it moves into a wonderfully contrasted bitter notes. I should say that again, bitter notes rather than bitter nose. You almost get like a vermouth characteristic to it. Again, you could maybe argue the phrase of like orange oil and orange peel that can be kind of bitter, but like really well put together vermouth that you'll find in a Manhattan. It has that nice contrasting bitter quality to it. It's not an overly sweet whiskey. You know, Glendronach is a beautiful range of whiskey, but they can be on the sweeter side of things most of the time. There's not a big contrasting range of bitter notes in there, but this Dalmore does have some nice contrast at the end of it. Second sip, a little bit sweeter, not as spicy. the toffee coming through more, the vanilla coming through more. But still at the end, a little bit of tannin, slight dryness, dark chocolate, and a wonderful layer of just slightly bitter, earthy, almost herbal flavours, which aren't unusual in Highland whiskies. Bow Blair has it in abundances, especially with things like ginger and licorice. And there is a slight black licorice note right at the end of this whiskey. But even though Dalmore might get a lot of hate amongst us sort of whiskey industry people, keen drinkers of it, keen adorers of sherry influenced styles, on the basis of it, they do make good whiskey. It's just maybe not for the people who want the ultimate non-chill filtered natural colour experience. They have their key market. I don't think they lie about anything on the front of the bottle. You know, they never claim to be like the natural colour. They never claim to be anything that they're not. But overall, as a score, I think it gets a nice 7.5 out of 10. It is a very well-rounded, easy drinking product. It's readily available at below, sometimes at or below £50 a bottle. I think I've seen it on offer at some point for like 38, 39 quid, which is a steal for something that tastes good, looks good, make a great gift if you're just getting someone a nice present. But yeah, Dalmore 12 overall. Let's put all the stuff to one side about what is natural and what isn't. Taste-wise, it's a pretty well-made product, and you can't go wrong with that. It's what this is all about. Is it well-made? And it is. And as a result, it gets a 7.5 out of 10. So thank you all for watching. We'll be here again next week. I'm Phil, and this is Whisky Wednesday. We'll see you around.